Hi, welcome, and thank you for joining us. Today, we are going to be talking about how to streamline your CAPA processes by up to 30%. Before we get started, let's cover a few housekeeping items. If you need any assistance during today's broadcast, there is a chat function at the bottom of your screen. Go ahead and send us a message there, and we will work to resolve any issues. There's also a Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. You can use that to ask questions at any time, but we will have a dedicated Q&A section during today's webinar. So feel free to engage with us and let us know what you think. My name is Jessica Madsen. I'm a Senior Product Marketing Manager here at MasterControl over our Quality Excellence Solutions, and I'm joined today by my friend Spencer.
Hi there. Spence Dean. I manage the East region for the sales organization here out of beautiful Salt Lake City, where our HQ is located with Jessica. So looking forward to spending the next little while with everyone.
So let's dive right into our main topic today, and that is CAPAs. A review of the FDA warning letters issued each year indicates that some companies only think about CAPA after the fact, when quality issues have already emerged and they have no choice but to address them. And this often leads to what we hear in the industry as death by CAPA. The FDA itself is feeling death by CAPA in their warning letters. To go over some stats, about 65% of drug and biologic warning letters for 2024 cited inadequate CAPA systems, and 42% of medical device warning letters for 2024 alleged CAPA violations. And common pain points when trying to manage CAPAs that can lead to these warning letters include IT dependencies when you're trying to make updates, rigid systems that don't really align to the processes that you or your company have, and validation delays as you are trying to ensure that your system is working as you expect it to. The average CAPA in life sciences takes around 90 days to close, and a lot of that time is spent waiting for approvals, waiting for information, waiting for that validation that I just talked about, and that can lead to a real cost that is demonstrated by those prolonged CAPA resolutions. Regulatory, like the warning letters that, high percentages that you see here, financial, like possible fines, and operational, where resources and bandwidth is reduced. That could be used on other initiatives or more strategic initiatives, manufacturing, where there are delays in the product or problems with the equipment that is used for multiple products, and then manufacturing can be stalled, leading to operational delays. So why do we at MasterControl know so much about CAPAs? And that is because we talk to companies like you every single day. We have over 1,100 organizations that use MasterControl quality management solutions, and we've been talking to them for over 30 years. We have managed hundreds of thousands to millions of quality events through our software successfully. And our customers range from exciting startups who are developing something new and just figuring out quality management to some of the top life science companies in the world who create products that are household names and that you would likely recognize as items that you use fairly often. And to show that we have what it takes to improve and automate and streamline your CAPA processes, we have a great quote here from one of our excellent customers. By using MasterControl, they've been able to streamline and accelerate the investigation and resolution of CAPAs, deviations, and adverse events in general by 20 to 30%. So we're really grateful that they have trusted us with their CAPA processes and been able to see such great results. So today, we are going to highlight 5 automation strategies and how to configure CAPA processes to match your unique business processes without custom coding or IT dependencies to ensure that you're really taking advantage of those efficiencies. And you're going to learn how forward-thinking companies are leveraging configurable quality event management systems to dramatically reduce those CAPA resolution times, eliminate costly bottlenecks, and create truly data-driven data-driven quality processes that can tie into your overall quality management picture. So to give you a quick preview of everything that we'll walk through today, first we'll start with configurability and flexibility. Then we'll move into form logic and conditional routing, then custom data and analytics, then moving into collaboration and form and task completion, and finally, how to validate your processes in minutes instead of months. This is all made possible by our quality event management software, and it breaks from the past of having quality leaders need to adapt their processes into rigid systems, and instead being able to either go with pre-built templates that we provide or create completely custom processes that really fit into how you want to work. And it literally puts the power to design processes and capture data from quality events into your hands, the hands of quality professionals who understand what quality goals they are trying to achieve.
Awesome. Thanks, Jess. So first thing we're going to be talking about is configurability. So we'll talk about configuring your system to really match your organizational processes while giving you the flexibility to optimize the system and iterate as you need as your company grows and you want to make improvements. On this next slide, so there's a lot of things to consider when you're looking at a QMS, and one thing is whether that solution gives you an out-of-the-box template. So there's a lot of advantages, as you can imagine, when you're just getting started. For example, you may not be entirely sure what you need, and at the same time, you want to make sure that you're aligning to industry best practices. And so going this route really tends to be, I think it's the most user-friendly way to go about it. You don't have to make a lot of adjustments. You don't have to make a lot of decisions. And generally speaking, it can be done a lot faster. So you can get time to value much more quickly doing it this way. Next slide, Jess. With MasterControl, one of the nice things is you get the best of both worlds. This is the last QMS you'll ever need to buy. We have best practice templates to get you started quickly that are based on industry best practices. And if you need configuration, you can edit those templates using our no-code forms or our workflow builder so that you can create exactly what you need from scratch. And that includes custom data tagging for reporting. And then again, as Jess mentioned at the beginning, we've been doing this for 30 years. And so we're also there to help you if you need it. Our staff comes from industry and we understand the challenges that you face every day.
Thanks, Spence. Now I am going to dive into creating those efficient processes and improving the user experience through using form logic and conditional routing. So the data that's gathered during a quality event process, such as location or role of the user, or the product associated to that particular quality event, can be fed into rules in the workflow that then will drive dynamic data collection and dynamic routing of those processes. So you can create one form and workflow that works for multiple scenarios and really streamlines that process so that users only see what applies to them. And that creates much more efficiency. They aren't having to go through and say like NA on fields that they see, but they know don't apply to them. And for example, I want to go into something that a customer told us as they've been able to use our quality event management software. So they said, right now we have a form with multiple different sections and over 150 questions. The sections and questions don't apply to every scenario, but they are always visible and our end users have to see it all. With your quality event management, I'm going to build that and make it a dynamic form. This section applies, this doesn't, and if it doesn't apply, then that section will be hidden. If it does, the questions in the section can be required. They are really looking to improve their efficiency and data just by the design of that form. And then they continued that all of their processes and quality events are site specific, and they are really still growing and expecting even more sites to come online. So one of the things that they're going to be doing and that they're really excited about is doing that dynamic routing and being able to build things and make sure that they're routed only to the people at that specific site and that they stay at that specific site to make sure that people are only seeing what they need and what applies to them. So with MasterControl, you can introduce that logic into quality event management by establishing that conditional routing based on rules that really saves you time and reduces any confusion, and really will drop people into the correct sections based on the data that they are selecting. Users see only what they need to, and they don't need to wade through those unnecessary forms and steps and inadvertently miss important ones or inadvertently enter the wrong information in the wrong form field because they made a mistake. It really eliminates a lot of that confusion, which really saves time in the end.
Awesome. So you can't really drive true efficiency without understanding where your processes currently stand, right? So, and you can't prove how much you've improved or the value that you've brought to your company's quality department without being able to show how far you've come. And so that's where the data and analytics comes in. A data-driven approach really provides those insights that you can turn into actionable improvements quickly. And then, you gain efficiency, which comes from understanding your metrics and then making changes to those processes based on the metrics to help your organization get the ROI that you're looking for. Next slide, Jess. So using out-of-the-box data tagging and dashboards, you can get streamlined information about all of the quality event management types, including CAPAs, that provide those pre-built visualizations that give you a snapshot of event status, which enables your users to take action fast. Or you can create custom tags where you get to decide what data to capture. And this really makes it possible to pull data into custom reports and dashboards using MasterControl's premium insights, and gives you that improved visibility into processes and data as you need. It also enables you to track those essential key performance indicators so you can measure CAPA efficiency with insights into things like, how many open CAPAs do you have? What's the average time it takes to close a CAPA? And, what are the number of overdue CAPAs that are currently outstanding? Next slide, Jess. So we at MasterControl, we take this data-first philosophy with visibility into trends and notifications to make sure that you and your organization, especially if you're a quality manager, can stay on top of these things. We give you the predictive analytics so that you can make improvements before you run into problems. That's the goal. And so, let's just say you need to assess the effectiveness of your CAPAs for each step. Maybe identify where users are getting stuck in your forms, maybe determine if they're taking longer than expected to complete them. And with MasterControl, with our advanced quality event management system and premium insights, you can easily build out the reports that you need to give you the understanding on where those bottlenecks really are in your organization. Or we also, as I mentioned earlier, we give you the flexibility. You can use our out-of-the-box quality scorecard dashboard as well, and that provides you the ability to analyze quality events, detect issues, and identify opportunities for improvement. This is enabled by surfacing insight, things on metrics like the average age of open events, completion counts for compliance, and other types of issues that you're trying to stay ahead of. Jess, back to you.
Yeah, thank you. So, in order to work quickly, everybody needs to work together because quality is everybody's job, right? So, being able to work in processes at the same time without overriding each other's data or being locked out can turn CAPA processes from a waiting game into the ability to really take action quickly. And that's where collaboration comes in. So you can reduce your CAPA cycle time significantly through collaborative forums that allow concurrent usage by multiple end users. And instead of routing documents or form processes sequentially, where one person is essentially waiting for another person to finish up the thing that they are doing before they are allowed to go in and make changes, you can have multiple quality professionals contribute simultaneously to investigation findings, understand, who is taking which section of the form, and then provide clear tracking of who provided which information as well. So you're completely clear on that audit trail so that when an auditor comes in and is looking at all of that information that was provided, it's really clear who did what and when. And so, with a clear view into the steps of a process, you can also see once you're done with a section exactly who you're still waiting on, what it is, who it's going to go to next, and what elements of that form are going to be completed next. And then you can see who is going to be involved in those next steps, and you can even adjust as necessary. So if you decide, oh, that person is actually out, I am going to actually go ahead and send it to their colleague, you have the ability to do that right in the system immediately. And then when it's your turn again, you're easily notified with configurable notifications that make it easy to know when you need to act. So our quality event management, like I said, makes sure that everybody can work together. You can see there in the screenshot how it indicates who is in the form at the same time, what multiple people are entering, and everybody can work together, and multiple users can complete tasks like filling out the form at the same time, and go ahead and do their information without being locked out. So we make it really easy to know when to act and who is acting so that you're reducing bottlenecks, you're not wasting time, and you have really easy to review task lists so you know what steps are upcoming, who you're waiting on, if anybody, and when it's your turn to act next, making sure that everything just runs as smoothly as possible.
Awesome. All right. Final one here. So, we've seen a lot of companies experience what we call the validation paradox. And that is as you identify ways to improve your CAPA process, that's great, but implementing those improvements often requires such extensive validation that you can't justify the short-term resource investment because by the time you do so and the time that you implement those changes and validate them, there's new challenges that have already emerged. So it's kind of this vicious cycle. Next slide there, Jess. So over the years, we have found that a lot of the 483 warning letters are tied to CAPAs. Well, another common 483 topic is validation. And when you're looking to streamline your validation, something you want to keep in mind is that the FDA has proposed a risk-based framework for validating software used in quality systems, rather than relying on just standalone testing as an example. It shouldn't be too burdensome, and it shouldn't take months in order to provide the proper documentation. The nice thing with risk-based validation is you can ensure compliance while understanding where you need to spend your time. So really focusing on this methodology can help transform the way you approach validation and introduce true efficiency, giving you the ability to validate in hours rather than days or weeks. And when you're working the configurability that we focused on today, you need even more modern tools that support custom configurations, frequent iterations, and can validate quickly. And that's really our validation excellence tool. Next slide there, Jess. So our tool is a patented, we call it, as I mentioned, our validation excellence tool. It's really a revolutionized system assessment that we've created by automatically generating validation documentation that is tailored specifically to your company's risk profile. It pinpoints high-risk areas, that are going to require additional validation testing, and it gives you those inspection-ready reports and validation plans that you would need in the event an inspector walked in. We also have created validation on demand, VOD for short, which allows you to validate your intended use in your actual environment. We are a software as a service organization, and it's specific to your unique configuration that you've put together. We power this through a test automation engine, and it embeds that validation inline directly into the workflows with a single click of the mouse, which is really nice. So the reports, they're automatically attached to your workflow so that, again, you have instant regulatory readiness if that inspector ever does walk in. Over 90% of our customers are using our tools, don't have to do any additional formal testing. So it truly is a big ROI from using our validation tool.
Thanks, Spence. So now that you understand how MasterControl can help you automate your CAPAs in multiple ways to create those true efficiencies, we want to walk you through a demo of exactly how our software helps you address all of your quality events, and along with connecting those quality events to everything from CAPA to document management to training, so that you have one connected closed loop system on one shared platform. And then you'll be able to see why we are the #1 QMS in life sciences and the leader on multiple review sites, including G2, based on the insights from our actual customers. And now we will move into a demo.
Yeah, let me share my screen really quickly. All right. So today I'd just like to show you some ways where MasterControl as a QMS can help eliminate those areas where you may get findings. In turn, that should mitigate opportunities for recalls within your facility by meeting those requirements. I'm going to start off with MasterControl as a platform, many different quality tools, many different manufacturing tools, document control, document management, training management, quality event management, your manufacturing solutions. All of those are sitting on the MasterControl platform. So for analytics, we have created a tool called Insights, which is basically an internal BI tool, a data lake, where all of the data that you're putting in, along with the configuration data on those processes, are in one location where you can use that data to get analytics to help you with your processes. MasterControl is big on helping you with kind of some starting points and best practice configurations. So a lot of dashboards have already been created for you, but this does have the ability for your people that have the rights to go in and create their own dashboards, pull their own data. But there's some other tools in here that can really help you to keep things from happening that you don't want, that could cause those findings and things like that. So I'm showing you here just quickly a dashboard on training KPIs. And it's really showing how much training is completed, the average stage to complete that training, the percentage of all training tasks due. And you can see that, all training tasks due is at 2.2%. Well, that's okay. That's not something to cause a lot of alarm. But the ability to take data and look at things and set limits to be notified when certain things happen is really powerful. So if this ever got to 5%, for example, I would like the management team to get notified. So I can come into data points and say, okay, if that data point ever gets greater than or equal to 5%, then I would like a notification, and I would like the management team to get notified, or I would like the quality team or specific individuals to get notified. So now I have the ability to set up lower control limits, right? Where if anything gets beyond that lower control limit, then I want to get notified that our processes could be getting out of control and we need to take action on that. Along with that is also the ability to extract that data as you need to. I'm going to go to another report really quick. And use the system to not only visually show that data, but also to send data out on reports. So maybe I want a past due training task to go to management every week. So like a past due training report. So I can set up training reports to go out periodically. I can set up Excel spreadsheets so I can export that data out if I need to. So the ability for me to keep people notified on their statuses is really important in that as well. So I just wanted to hit on this insights tool really quickly, but I really want to get into the software and kind of start showing you the software. So MasterControl has a lot of places where they can help you with configuring your system, helping you configure your system how you want, but it also has the ability for you to configure the system. So we have best practices that we can implement when we implement MasterControl, but you always have the ability to configure the system however works best for your businesses. So creating your document types and how they work, creating your workflows for quality events, setting up your training how you want to. Your team will have the ability to do that configuration. Everything is very easy to configure. We will teach you the configuration, and then you can control the rights on how those people configure that. Now, part of the configuration that is also really helpful is I'm going to log in as a user in my system, so this is kind of a user experience. So Jeff in my company, he's on the manufacturing floor. He's what we call a manufacturing operator. So part of my configuration in the system was creating a role where the manufacturing operators get a different experience than, say, a quality manager or somebody who works in a lab. So I have a role in my system that I created called quality manager, and the rights I allow my my operators to see in the system is they can only see certain types of documents. So I've configured quality procedures, corporate policies, manufacturing work instructions, all sorts of different types of documents to design history file documentation, marketing materials. There's a lot that I've configured into my system to control those document types, but this operator only gets access to the corporate documentation, the quality procedures, and the manufacturing work instruction. Why is that? I wanted my operators to have a really easy experience on being able to find only documents that are related to their job and not muddling through a lot of documents that don't have anything to do with what they do. But another thing I can do, and this is where it can really help you with those findings, a lot of issues come up with users not being able to find documents quickly, grabbing the wrong revisions of documents. So to eliminate that, what I've done is I've created folders. Well, first of all, with the rights that Jeff has, is documents can be in several statuses, right? They could be in draft, where we're creating a new revision of a document or creating a new document. They can be approved or released, where they have been signed off as the working document, or they can be archived as old revisions of documentation. So along with only giving Jeff access to certain types of documents that relate to his job, I can also only give him access to approved documents. So now when my operators are going into the system to find documentation, not only are they only finding documents that are related to their job, but they're also only working to approved documents. So I'll never have to worry about a finding about an operator working to an archived document, because the system will not allow their role to see that archived document. Along with that, I can also organize the documents so that the people can find it really quickly. And the system will automatically organize these for me based off of the configuration I've set up. This is called an Explorer folder. And you can see, for example, Jeff in the operator document, he can get to his manufacturing procedures really quickly, which will show all of the manufacturing procedure. Notice they're only in a release state because Jeff can't see draft or archive. But the system's automatically organizing it. This folder is looking for manufacturing procedures that are approved. So as new manufacturing procedures come in, go through the automated workflow and get approved, that folder will automatically point to those. Documents that get revised, revision 1 is approved, revision 2 is getting released. As revision 2 goes through its redlining and approval process within the system and gets approved, revision 1 gets pushed into an archive state. This folder automatically updates to revision 2. So in turn, what I get is a virtual SOP binder for my operators that nobody in my company has to maintain. It's always keeping itself up to date with the latest and newest revisions of those documents. Nobody's maintaining that. So really what I want is for Jeff to come into the system, be able to find his documents really easily, go to training tasks that are up for him, where he can go through his training task and take his exams and sign off on that really quickly and easily see that really quickly. But I really want my operators to have a software that looks like it was just created for operators to find their documents and do their training. So that's how I've set it up for Jeff. And then if I go in as somebody like a quality manager or a manufacturing manager, Their access is much different because they need to do a lot more things in the system. They have to be able to create documents, investigate complaints, set up people's training requirements. So you see when Matt's logged into the system, not only does he have access to the My MasterControl, but he has access to other parts of the system like documents, training, working on, maybe he works on audits a little bit. So he's got configuration, it's been configured for this management, the person in this management role to be able to do a lot more in the system than an operator. Now, I'm going to get into starting to show some of the functionality of the system. But one thing I want to do is I'm going to search for a document really quick, and I want to tell you the story that show you the story that I'm going to tell you. So let me pull into this document. So what I want to show you is how MasterControl, as a closed loop system, can help you. So all of the functionality of MasterControl is on one software platform, and the system can organically connect that, create a quality ecosystem for you. So a day in the life. I have a deviation that has been brought up. So I'm filling out a deviation form, and during the investigation of that deviation form, I realized that this is a very high-risk deviation and may need to be escalated to CAPA. So I've created my system so I can launch a child form right off of that deviation and send that to my CAPA team so that they can start doing a deeper dive evaluation of that corrective action or of that issue and see if it needs to go into a full-blown CAPA process, or maybe it could be tracked and trimmed or closed as just an event based off of that risk. If they decide that needs to go into CAPA, then they can launch a CAPA form directly from that issue review, which will take them through their root cause investigation, their corrective action planning, their implementation of that corrective action, effectiveness verification. But oftentimes during the implementation part of the implementation is to revise documentation. Now the documents module takes over the document revision process. If it's a procedure that needs to be revised, the system knows how that document gets revised, all the attributes of that document, takes it through its workflow through an automated process, and then approves that document. Now that's going to take care of the document part, but I can link the CAPA directly to that document, so I now have a connection that this document to this revision was changed because of this CAPA. And with that document being revised, we also have a tight integration between the documents module and the training module. So the training module knows that a procedure is being revised. As soon as it gets revised, the system knows all of the people that trained to that document. So upon the approval of that procedure, the training module launches out training to all the required trainees with that new revision attached to it. Now, that actually gives me the ability, if you've ever sat in an audit and tried to, an auditor's looking at an auditor or inspector's looking at a deviation and sees the risk in that, and they want to know what all you have done for that high-risk deviation. Typically, before we went to this system at my previous company, that was an exercise in scrambling to a bunch of different places on the computer, different filing cabinets within the system, trying to find the doc, all the training record, showing how that's related to that CAPA, how that goes back to that deviation. Now that's all connected internally. So for that deviation, they say that's high risk. I'll say, yes, that is high risk. You can see from my risk score. So what I did is I sent that to our CAPA team to do a deeper dive evaluation of that for escalation. They showed that it needed to go to CAPA. So I clicked the link and showed the corrective action plan that we went through to correct that problem and the effectiveness checks. But if they want to go down that rabbit hole deeper, they'll say things like, show me the documents that were changed. Well, now all I have to do is click the link from the CAPA to the documents, show all the documents that were revised from that system. In turn, that shows all the training that happened on those documents. So now when that auditor or inspector says, show me everything that happened with this deviation, in 4 mouse clicks, I can take you from the deviation to the training that happened because of that high-risk deviation and the entire process that happened to get it from that deviation to the training that happened. So I'm going to start with just showing you some of the different modules in the system. Let me log out as Matt. Everybody has the rights that they can do. Go in as somebody who has the right to do what I want to show. So I'm going to start with the forms process in MasterControl. So for your forms, your quality events, things like deviations, nonconformances, CAPAs, things like that. MasterControl has a tool called Advanced Quality Event Management. It's a no-code tool where you can create workflows with the data you want to collect in each step of that workflow for those quality events. Just as an example, I might be working on an unplanned deviation. When I go into that deviation, it shows me the data that I'm supposed to put in for my step in the workflow. The system sent me the task because I'm in the workflow as the person that investigates deviations. So I get the task. I would go through and fill out the data that I'm required to fill out. I would be able to see all of the data that has been given to me in previous steps of the workflow. I am able to link any supporting, attach any supporting documentation, like if I have images or PDFs of emails that I want to attach a supporting documentation. I can also link to other pieces of the system. I can link to procedures. I can link this to maybe there's already a CAPA open for this, and I want to link it to that CAPA to make it part of that CAPA. I can link to that. I have the ability to do things like ask for extension requests and send out tasks for people to give me information that I need for this deviation. So I can fill out my data and submit that, and then it moves along in the workflow. But I'm capturing all that data. It's something that I can do analytics on, and it can connect to the other pieces of the system. So from the user point of view, I just want to show you how that was all created. Now, MasterControl will provide you with best practice out-of-the-box solutions for those quality events. Things like out-of-spec, non-conformances, CAPAs, issue review, deviations, management of change. And for each of these processes, we've given you a best practice template based off of our 20 plus years of experience within the quality event world and working with customers, with all the customers that we have. So we can give you your own workflow showing you, where we build this out, where it starts with capturing non-conformance issues, the data that we typically see captured for a non-conformance, the workflow that goes on to go through non-conformance to risk assessments, to investigations, to verification, dispositions. So if you want to use our template right out of the box, you can use that template. Just put in the people in the steps that are supposed to be notified when it goes through that workflow, and that's all you really need to do in the system. You can also, because it's such an easy tool to design in, you can also, let me go back to, let's go to this. You could also take our out-of-the-box solution and modify it however you need for your business. So maybe in that first step, there are fields in here. There are fields in here where you don't like the labels for those. You could change those labels. Maybe there's fields that we're collecting that you don't need at all. You could delete those fields out. Maybe you need to add fields that are not in our out-of-the-box solution. So it's just a matter of you going into this little widget here and picking the type of field you want. Maybe I want a long text field here. I want to ask a question. I want to make that a required field. Maybe put some hint text in there, character limits. So in this scenario, I'm taking MasterControl's out-of-the-box solution and I'm modifying it to some specifics in my business. And then you also have the ability for those forms, whether we're way off on what we want to show to you, or you have forms that we don't have a template for, you can also create your own forms from scratch, where you just come in here and you build your workflow out how you want it to work, go into each of those steps of that workflow and put your own data in there that you want to collect. I'm doing one here for a continuous improvement form that I want people to be able to launch if they see a place in my company for improvement where they add that information in there, and let us evaluate that and see what kind of plan we would want to put in place to implement that continuous improvement plan. So I actually built my own form in here. It's a very easy tool, all no code to build your own forms. So with that, I've got through that form piece. That also works with the, that configuration piece also works with documents and training. I just want to show a few things on documents. You as a company can create whatever document types you want in the system. We can configure those for you as well. But as your people put documents into the system, let's say I'm going to put an SOP in here. Really, because it's configured, because you've configured it, or with the help of us have configured this, or you can configure these on your own. Let me put a manufacturing procedure in. The system is configured to make it really easy for the end user. I want to create a manufacturing procedure. I don't have to know what the next number in the scheme is. I've had the system creating the numbering scheme for me based off of either my previous numbering scheme or a numbering scheme I've designed. It knows where it lives in the system, so I don't have to figure out where to put this in the system. It knows the workflow it goes on to be approved. Really, all I need to do is give this a title, add the document that I want to put into the controlled environment to go through its approval process. You'll see a place where you can create your own metadata to track and trend, search, report, organize. So I like to organize my documents by product. So I am forcing my end users to put the product in, but that could be product, department, location, customer, project. And then another piece that's really nice is the ability to link documentation together. So if I have a procedure that's related to 2 work instructions or referenced in 2 work instructions, I can link the procedure to the work instructions. That gives me a place where I can search for documents based off of documents that reference each other. But also the system will warn you if you go to change a procedure, you go to revise the procedure, it'll warn you that there may be other documentation that needs to be updated because of that. So when I go to check out a procedure to revise it, the system will tell me that you have 2 work instructions that also could be affected by this. Do they need to be revised? So if keeping documents out of sync is a problem within your facility, this really helps with that. Now, like I said, you can design your own workflows in the system. So for those documents, you can build your workflows where your teams can, and you can create different workflows for different document types. So maybe for my manufacturing procedure, I have a team that collaborates on a new procedure or the revision of a procedure, where those people can go in, review the document, make edits to the document, get it ready for approval. And then when I feel that document is ready for approval, so we're all doing that in one place, when I feel it's ready for approval, I can sign off on that and move it into the approval process. Now the system will automatically move it to the next step. It'll notify the people in those steps, and it will also send them an email notification. You can do things like parallel steps where you can get documents through the system much quicker because you're sending it to multiple people, multiple groups to approve at the same time. You can do escalation. So if one of your groups doesn't sign off on a document in a certain amount of time, it might get escalated to their manager. So you'll see almost an instant increase in throughput on getting documents approved based off of the workflow building tool. Also, another thing that's nice is the ability to create PDF renderings of the document. So, and that could be a right thing. So my management team that makes revisions to documents, they have access to the native documents in the system, but they can also see the PDF that MasterControl created. My operators, I don't want them to get their hands on the native file, so they only have access to the PDF rendering. What this will do is, one, give them the ability to give you the ability to put watermarks and things like that on the document, but also put rules on the document. So for my manufacturing team, I am letting them print the document out. You can take that right away as well. So when they print the document out, it'll do things like document who printed that document out and when that document expires. So I've set up a 48-hour expiration date on manufacturing procedures. So now when somebody prints it out, it shows who printed it and when they printed it, but also will stamp an expiration date that this document's only good for 48 hours from the time that it was printed out. Now, one thing that is really cool that will save you from a lot of findings is, let's say that my operator takes a electronic copy of the document, does a file save as, and saves that PDF to their desktop. That is every quality person's nightmare because that person now has a rogue copy. They're never going back to that controlled environment. So what the system does is if they do a file save as and save that to their desktop, that expiration date actually turns into a time bomb on that PDF that they took. So they can open that document for 48 hours, but on the 49th hour when they go to that icon and try to open it up, the system will just tell them the document's expired, it will no longer open. They had to go back to MasterControl for another rendering. So I think everybody that's been in a quality audit at one point or another has had to explain to an auditor why Jeff's on revision 2 of the document and the rest of the company is on revision 4. This actually helps eliminate that problem because it's blowing up that document after a certain period of time. All right, so back to my overall view of this. I kind of got through that documents piece. I wanted to show one more thing on the documents piece, sorry. So as our documents are in the system and they go through, revision or collaboration of a new document, approval and release, not only am I updating those folders that I set up for different groups, but the system will automatically send training out upon the approval of that document. So in the training module, I will have configured for that labeling procedure, I will have configured a labeling training course that has all the rules and instructions and who trains for that. So as that document gets approved, the system sees the change of state of that and automatically launches the training out. So I'm not running around figuring out how to get all the people trained. The system's taking that part over. And I want to show the training piece of this really quick. Let me log back out here. So I did show the training piece as the end user for Jeff when he gets this training task, but this document that Jeff's training on, if you look at the materials, it's actually a procedure that got revised and the system automatically launched that training out. The way that happened was we've created courses in the system for all of my different training tasks with the rules, instructions. Do I need an exam? What are they training to? Linking it to a document makes an internal connection, but you can also attach other pieces. But what I really want is to set up my training matrix so that anytime I need to see what's going on with a group like operators, it's easy for me to go into the status of that group, see the operators in my company, their curriculum to be trained as an operator, and their percentage of completion. So you can see here that for my operators, I can really quickly see who could, do a task. Maybe if somebody called in sick, I could see really quickly who can do a task. I can really quickly see as an auditor who, is behind when an audit or the quality manager who's behind it when a training task comes up. So, an auditor's coming in, I know that I don't want them to see Doug Little at 9% completion. So this gives you a really cool view of how the different groups are doing and how they're going on in their curriculum. The trainees actually get tasked in the system. That task goes through an introduction telling them what they need to do. The materials that they're training to, so they would see the materials. If you want to test for competency, you can build exams. A lot of regulations now are requiring proof of competency. An exam is a great way to do that, where they go into the exam. I've created an exam for them. They got to get a passing score. I've given them retakes. When they go into the exam, it'll show the questions that I've created for them: true, false, multiple choice, matching, sequencing, numeric. Also being able to put images in there and ask questions about the images. As they take the exam, it will show their level of complete, or how they did in that exam, what they got correct, what they got incorrect, whether they passed or failed. Now, if Jeff would have failed, he would have gotten a retake. In this case, Jeff passed, so he will sign off with his electronic signature. And now it'll update everywhere in the system that Jeff is now trained to that labeling procedure. Now, as far as those exams go, I don't know if you have ever had to create exams. I am horrible at creating exams. It's easy to think of questions. For me, the hardest part is trying to think of incorrect questions. So or incorrect answers. So when you have a multiple choice, it's easy for me to pick the correct question, the correct answer. But coming up with 3 incorrect answers that actually make sense, that was the hardest part for me. I just hate creating exams. So MasterControl, that's created an AI tool that will generate exams for you. So I want to show you that really quick. Let me go back into myself. So let's say that I've got a procedure out there, and part of that is I want an exam for people to take as part of their training requirements. It's really just as easy for me to choose the document that I want to do an exam on, tell the system to process that document so that I can select the areas where I want to ask questions, and then tell the system to generate questions. So you'll see from that document that I selected the areas I want questions from, the system will go through. It's figuring out the questions it's going to ask right now. So the system starts kicking out questions from that document. You'll see it's asking me questions like, what does the acronym AQL stand for? And it actually gives some pretty logical incorrect answers as well. So it came up with 5 questions for me. It also, if I don't like the questions, I can say, regenerate a new question. I don't like that one. Or if I want to edit it, I can edit it, or I can just kick it out if I want to. So the time that it takes you to create an exam, even if it's only an hour, I'm now doing it in 5 minutes. So it's a really valuable tool to save time for your users that create those. So there's only one more piece in the demonstration that I want to show, and that's the big picture. Looking at, and I haven't got into our manufacturing tool. I'm going to show you a scenario here really quickly where so we do have a manufacturing tool where you can create your batch records or your DHFs. So your people are actually doing that data in the system electronically rather than on paper. Paper is a nightmare. Matt talked about it earlier with our review by exception, where it just shows you any errors in the system where people weren't trained or where maybe a deviation was launched or a correction was made. Your people will be able to go into the system. Let me go back to this. Your say engineers or the people designing your production records, they'll be able to go in and build your batch records so that people are it's going to mistake proof a lot of your production records, right? With people not skipping steps, people not putting anything that's illegible, people forgetting the way that you're supposed to correct an error in the system. So you can build those processes out. But one thing that this will do is it will actually integrate with your quality system. So I can attach procedures and work instructions directly to the manufacturing record. So that manufacturing record always has the latest procedure associated with it. It will do training checks so that if you're not trained to the procedure that you're working on in that production record, the system won't let you put data in. It will actually send you to your training task to train on it so that you can come back and put data. You can also launch quality events from your production record. So I can launch deviations and nonconformances directly from my production record so that I don't have to figure out how to make that connection from the quality system back to the manufacturing tool. And I'm going to show you just really quickly here in the system. Let me go to manufacturing. So I'm just going to show you a really quick scenario here, and then I will be done with my demonstration. So I'm going to production records, and I'm going to show you what it would look like to an end user when they go into the system. They would go to the production record that they're working on. Let me just view all here real quick. So I'm working on this production record 217, lot number 217. I go through my workflow and work on the pieces that that are part of my job. So if I go into this, line clearance on the production area, notice that it's not letting me put data in because I haven't trained to this. So it's actually giving me a link to my training task. So I can do the training, and then I can come back and have it check the training, and I can start putting the data in there. Now, in another step of this procedure, or in this manufacturing work instruction, let me go back out of this. This is actually also doing some calculations, and my calculations are showing that I'm out of specification. So I'm able to launch deviations directly from the production record, and that would be attached to that actual section where we deviated. And then in the review by exception part of this, it will also show you any forms that have been launched and what areas that those were applicable to. So a deviation was launched in the system. I've got the link to the deviation. It shows me exactly what caused that deviation to be launched. And then if you go back to the quality side of this, you'll see that, back to mine, AQM. So a deviation was launched because of a manufacturing process. If you look at this, here's the deviation that I'm working on. Notice that it's linked here to some other pieces. So the deviation caused me to come in and initiate a deviation, put in my deviation information, also start doing investigations on that deviation and what caused that. And because of my risk score in this deviation, it says that this should be escalated to be reviewed for CAPA. So what I did is I launched an issue review, which is a CAPA request form, so that my CAPA team could actually do a deeper dive look into that into that deviation and see if it's something that might need CAPA. So you can see that this deviation, we went through the issue initiation, the risk assessment, the disposition of that. The disposition said this does need a CAPA. So you can see that I'm tied directly to a CAPA that was launched from this issue review, which is now taking me through, I'm in the root cause investigation step of this, and it will go through its workflow through root cause, corrective action planning, plan implementation, effectiveness checks, and deviation. So I just wanted to show you really quickly the ease of how I tied all of that together. I had that manufacturing process that caused the deviation to happen. While I'm in the deviation, I can see the risk took me to a CAPA review. So I clicked the link and took me to that CAPA review. The CAPA review showed that, from our CAPA team, showed that it did need to go to a CAPA. Click the link and show the CAPA that I'm in now. If documents need to be revised, I'll link to those documents, and it'll show me all of the documents that were revised, which in turn will show me the training that happened on those documents. So that's the big picture value that you get out of this, is where you can eliminate those areas for potential findings, which in turn could cause recalls.
All right. Well, thanks. I hope you guys enjoyed the demonstration. So we did get a handful of questions. So let me just, we'll go through these. And, as always, if we'll mention this at the end again, but if we didn't answer all your questions, we'll provide some information on how to reach out. So I got a question on how is validation of MasterControl managed? I think that is what they're referring to, maybe diving a little bit deeper into the validation question. So we provide all of the operations qualifications. So the OQ, I'm sure many of you are familiar with this terminology, as well as the installation qualification, which is your IQ, and the performance qualification as well. So your OQ, IQ, and PQ. We provide those reports, like pretty much give you everything you need. Jess, anything you have to add to that? Any thoughts?
Yeah, so one of the really cool elements, and we talked about it a little bit earlier in the presentation, is that validation on demand, which really takes a lot of the guesswork out of validation. And so, as Spence was mentioning, you really get to be able to literally just click a button. So if you go and make a change to your form, and you just, so that because you added a new product, or you decide that you need a new step based on, this particular step is taking a really long time, and so you make some adjustments. Being able to instantly validate your form again and have it go through automatically and run negative path tests and check and see, what happens if a correction is requested, is that validated, and do it all for you, and then spit out those reports, really makes validation a non-issue. So you are really able to make those improvements, make those, efficiencies that we talked about a lot today, without having validation be a burden. It really is just your last quick step in the process.
Yeah, I think those are really good points. I mean, it literally, it saves our clients sometimes weeks, sometimes months. I mean, it is a big deal. So, yeah, hopefully that answered your question. Thanks for that, Jess. Let's see. Next question. How long does it take to implement? I'm just going to refer to, we're primarily focused on quality events and our quality suite today. We do have a manufacturing, but I'm going to kind of assume that's left out of this question. So, you'll probably hate this answer, but it depends, right? It's based on the complexity of the configuration. And so, as you can imagine, and kind of as we mentioned in the presentation, we have companies that cover the gamut. We have startup companies that are, as few as just a few people, just literally starting out, to some of the biggest, or not some of the biggest, the biggest organizations in the world. And so that's one of the great things about MasterControl, is like, this is the last QMS and hopefully MES system that you will ever need to buy. But because of that, like if you take a pre-configured solution, that's a pretty quick setup and implementation, 30 to 90 days at the outset. If it's a little bit more complex, where there's a lot of configuration, there's a lot of, special workflows that you have in your organization, it can take 3 to 6 months or maybe even a little bit longer. But, that is all going to be scoped out as you investigate and work with MasterControl to make sure that it's a fit. And our goal is to find you the solution that most closely meets your needs. And hopefully that is us. But, there is definitely a breadth of different situations and scenarios that kind of define that. So, Jess, anything to add?
Yeah, I think two elements. Number one, we're really lucky that we have an incredible teams that we work with here who really who a lot of them have been in the industry. They really know what they're doing. They know our products inside and out, and they know how to quickly implement them in a way that is going to keep you compliant. And so, really working with our team members who are really experienced and know what they're doing. And then also, like Spence said, we help customers from the entire range of size of companies. And one thing that's really nice, like Spence said, really the last QMS that you'll ever need. Should you start with something that is pre-configured and then decide a year or two later that you really come into your own on how you want to run your processes and there's some things that you would like to change, we're able to then work with you on that, help you get into those custom configurations, and move towards something that's going to fit as you grow. So really able to have the best of both worlds there.
Yep, great. This is a simple one. I'm just going to give a short answer. Where's the cloud available? We are a cloud-based solution. I think I mentioned that. And so you may or may not be familiar with, you probably heard in the old days of on-premise solutions and cloud-based solutions. So we are solely a cloud-based solution. All of our clients, reside on our cloud. And so anywhere you have an internet connection, you have access to our technology, whether that be your phone, whether that be a tablet, whether that be, a laptop or whatever, any device really that can connect to the internet, you can gain access because we are a cloud-based solution. Jess, I'll give you the opportunity. I don't know that there's much to add.
There's not much else to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really opened up the world of being able to do things virtually, and
Sure.
review those. You can review those investigations from the beach if you would like to.
Yep, and I think that's a good point. I mean, it's interesting because looking back to the COVID era, there was I feel like there was still a lot of companies, or not a lot of companies, but there were still companies that were kind of on the fence. And in a lot of cases, that helped accelerate the need to get on the cloud because people had to work from home. And so anyway, I just think, that's kind of the path of the future. And so that's the organization. That's our business model as well as a cloud-based solution. Let's see here. This question: can multiple people be entering in data at the same time? And the short answer is yes. It's I think again that speaks to a little bit of the being on the cloud as well. Is especially in today's environment, is become much more sophisticated with things like, sorry for the terminology here, but data lakes and just the different architecture of these cloud-based solutions give you the ability to sign in and work across multiple instances while all being entered and updated at the same time. So hopefully that answers that. Anything to add there, Jess?
No, I completely agree. Like what I talked about with concurrent usage of being able to fill out the form, just really accelerating that timeline so everybody isn't just waiting for somebody else to do something.
Yep. Let's see. Looks like we've got a couple more. Some of these are just comments. Let's see. How is the system licensed? So we are a named user model. So basically, each person that has a license is named in the system as an individual user. that's just how we've chosen to do it. We think it's important for reporting and for dashboards and those types of things. So anyway, I think that's a pretty short, quick answer. Let's see. Question on how do customers typically get started with MasterControl? I think this is probably asking, we do have, I'd mentioned earlier, we do have some other modules. We do have our QMS, which, encompasses our quality events management and docs and training and those types of things. And then we have a MES Lite as well. And so it depends, again, is the answer that you probably all don't like. But it just depends on, which modules that you're incorporating and what the most important are to you. And so I think that really boils down to just kind of spending some time with us and going through discovery to just make sure that we're, aligning with your goals and the objectives that you would like to see within your organization as it relates to having a quality management system. Anything to add there, Jess?
No, I thought that was great.
Let's see. I think some other comments here. I think that's pretty much it for the Q&A. So with that, I think we can call it a wrap. Jess, do you want to talk a little bit about kind of these last couple of slides?
Yep, absolutely. So thank you so much for joining us today. We would love to have you download our brief on simplifying CAPA in 7 steps. It really walks through a lot of the options for streamlining CAPAs, specifically to life science environments, and understanding really best practices in the industry of how people are moving towards even incorporating things like AI. So we would love to have you take a look at that. And then also contact us and talk to us about the goals that you have for streamlining your CAPAs, your quality event management, or even just your quality management in general. So again, thank you so much for attending, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
See you later.